Another new feature I've implemented in this terrain generator is ambient occlusion. And how this works is I make use of the voxel data from the terrain to generate the voxel ambient occlusion. And I will be able to showcase this effect by going to my analysis, rendering debugger, material, common material properties, and enable ambient occlusion. And as you can see, this basically allows me to debug the voxel ambient occlusion that I've implemented. This is a very naive method that just takes basically counts the number of voxels on each vertex and just applies that to a linear curve, which allows me to check what are the areas that are pointy or that have fewer full voxels and the areas that are filled with more voxels around them. So as you can see over here in this little nook and cranny, you can see that there's it's a lot darker, and that's because there are more filled voxels around that. Also over here in the point, there are few voxels, few dense voxels, since density is represented by if there's either terrain or not terrain. So in this case there's air, and in that case this is a lighter. And as you can see, this applies to the whole terrain. Now, since I'm using the surface nets algorithm, this is kind of buggy at the moment, since the surface nets basically is a voxel terrain, and then I just smooth it out as afterwards. So if I go over here and disable smoothing and remesh the terrain, and wait for it to complete a remesh, you see that in of itself it's blocky, and so there are a few artifacts that happen when I linearly smooth it, and that's simply due to the nature of naive surface nets going from this blocky terrain looking to smooth terrain. And as you know, I'm using an octree, so there's more detail around the player. And the good thing about this voxel ambient occlusion is that it responds to player input as well. So if I dig a hole over here, it gets darker, and that's because I'm actually updating the voxel data, and the voxel ambient occlusion takes account of that. So I can also add more stuff, and I can, for example, do that. And as you can see over here in this area, it's a bit darker since there's more filled voxels around it. And if I add more filled voxels, it gets darker and darker. Now it is a bit buggy since the sampling area for such effect is rather big. So around multiple chunks, there are like smaller effects over here. Like it doesn't perfectly line up because right now it doesn't fetch the data from other chunks, but so far I'm not willing to lose the performance that this effects give me. And if I were to implement multi-chunk support, I'm gonna have to basically change how my whole voxel octree system works. And for performance reasons, I'm not gonna do that, since right now everything can be ran on multiple threads. And if I add inter-chunk dependencies, that will slow things down by a lot. So I'm not gonna willingly reduce performance for little gain. And if I disable the preview over here in my material, disable that, you can't really see the artifacts between these chunks. Now in some cases you can see them, but in some cases you do. Like over here, you can clearly see different chunks and split across them. But in my opinion, it's not really major, so yeah, it's fine. Yep. Thank you for watching my video, and yeah, I'm gonna add more features later on, like multiplayer support, graph support, voxel global illumination, and more stuff like that. So yeah, hope you guys liked it. Thank you.